Good evening, and welcome to Neutral News, the program that continues to observe humanity's various hobbies and ask, quietly and to itself, why. Tonight, we consider golf, a pastime, some call it a sport, which involves taking a very long walk, occasionally interrupted by bouts of intense, silent fury. It is, in essence, a prolonged and beautifully manicured battle against one's own incompetence, played out in trousers that defy conventional taste. We have dedicated our entire program to unraveling this curious ritual. We begin, as always, with our chief analyst, Susan. Susan, for the uninitiated, could you neutrally outline the fundamental premise?
Neil, the premise is one of profound, almost philosophical contradiction. The objective of golf is to play as little golf as possible. Participants propel a small, dimpled sphere across a significant expanse of land using a selection of precisely engineered sticks, with the ultimate aim of depositing the sphere into a series of 18 small holes in the ground. The victor is the individual who accomplishes this task in the fewest number of strokes. Success, therefore, is measured in the swiftness of cessation.
So, it's a game whose core principle is the desire for it to be over, a fascinating concept. It's like attending a party where the goal is to be the first to find a plausible excuse to leave. Oh, I think I've left the gas on. I win. Imagine if other professions adopted this ethos. A surgeon boasting, "I performed the appendectomy in just 3 incisions and left half of it in, a personal best." It completely redefines the notion of a job well done. We sent our correspondent, Graham, to one of these facilities. He's there now, presumably trying to look like he belongs. Graham, what is the atmosphere?
Neil, it is quiet, unnervingly so. It's a silence pregnant with unspoken frustration. People walk in small groups but rarely speak, communicating instead through a series of pained expressions and the occasional deeply suppressed sigh. It's like a library, but with more grass and the palpable risk of a middle-aged man weeping into a Pringle jumper. Earlier, I witnessed a gentleman spend 10 minutes searching for his ball in a bush. He didn't find it, Neil. The quiet dignity with which he accepted his loss, took a drop and walked away was genuinely harrowing. It was a small, personal tragedy played out amongst the rhododendrons. There are also strange rituals here, Neil. Tiny ceremonies everywhere. A player will mark his ball's position with a coin, as if afraid the grass might steal it. They stare at the ground, having intense, whispered conversations with their caddies about invisible winds. It's all very Masonic.
A secret society dedicated to chasing a ball. Thank you, Graham. Do try not to make any sudden movements. Susan, let's talk about the equipment. One often sees these individuals hauling a bag that seems heavier than they are. What precisely is in there?
The bag contains the clubs, typically a set of 14. These include woods, which are now made of metal for long distances, irons, also made of metal for varying shorter distances, a wedge for high short shots, and a putter for the final, often most psychologically damaging, phase of the hole. Each club is designed to perform a subtly different task, much like a surgeon's toolkit, if the surgeon's only job was to repeatedly hit a small object until it fell into a distant cup.
14 implements. It seems like overkill. And why are they numbered, Susan? Is a 9 iron 9 times as effective or 9 times more ironic than a 1 iron, which I understand is a mythical beast rarely seen in the wild? It's the sort of over-preparation one normally associates with a Bond villain moving into a new volcano lair. You wouldn't take 14 different types of spoon to eat your soup. And this putter, it sounds so gentle, so benign, like something one does in the garden on a Sunday afternoon. I was just pottering about. Yet I sense it is a tool of immense psychological torture. And Susan, the attire, the uniform for this activity seems to be a cry for help rendered in Argyle.
The dress code is specific, Neil. It typically consists of a collared polo shirt, trousers or tailored shorts, and specialized shoes with small spikes or grips for stability. Knitwear, often in a diamond or argyle pattern, is common. Headwear usually takes the form of a baseball cap or a visor, an item of clothing which provides shade for the forehead while curiously leaving the top of the head exposed.
A forehead parasol. Ingenious. And the trousers. They are often of a color not found in nature, a sort of aggressive pastel that seems designed to clash with the very concept of grass. And the shoes have spikes. Why? Is there a risk of sliding away? Is the ground itself trying to repel them? It all seems to be part of the performance, a visual declaration that I am now engaging in formalized leisure, and my trousers will prove it. Graham, have you observed the deployment of these sticks?
Neil, I have. There is a great deal of ceremony involved. A player will pull out a club, stare at it, stare at the ball, perform a series of intricate, balletic waggles, and then swing with the force of a medieval executioner. The result, more often than not, is that the ball travels an impressive distance in a direction the player clearly did not intend. This is followed by a period of silent contemplation, which I believe is the polite term for repressing a primal scream. There is also a sound, Neil, the thwack of a perfectly struck ball. It's a clean, satisfying noise that is immediately followed by the sight of the player turning in anger as they watch it sail into a lake. The contrast is poetic.
Fascinating. So the elaborate ritual is a prelude to unpredictable disappointment. It's the sporting equivalent of spending hours cooking a gourmet meal only to drop it on the floor. Now, Susan, this brings us to the scoring, which I understand has a lexicon all of its own, seemingly borrowed from an ornithologist's field notes.
That is correct, Neil. Scoring is measured against par, which is the predetermined number of strokes a highly competent golfer is expected to take for a given hole. Scoring 1 under par is a birdie, 2 under is an eagle, 3 under a rare albatross. Conversely, 1 over par is a bogey, 2 over is a double bogey, and so on into a numerical abyss of personal shame. There are also terms for poor shots, such as a shank or a duff.
Birds. Why bird, Susan? What is the logic? Was the game invented by the RSPB? It seems entirely arbitrary. Why not name the scores after disappointing vegetables? Oh, marvellous, he's shot a Swede on the 12th. Or perhaps minor political figures. A solid Heseltine there on the 15th. And this par concept. It's an imaginary benchmark of perfection against which everyone will inevitably fail. It's like having a picture of Cary Grant on your mirror and judging your reflection against it every morning. A recipe for misery. And what is this I hear of a handicap?
The handicap is a numerical measure of a golfer's potential ability. It is a system designed to allow players of different skill levels to compete against one another. In essence, less skilled players are awarded a certain number of free strokes, which are deducted from their final score.
A pre-approved, mathematically calculated excuse. It's genius. It's a way of institutionalizing mediocrity. You're saying, I am precisely this bad at this game, it has been officially certified, and you must make allowances for it. I wish such a system existed in other walks of life. One could go into a job interview and say, my CV is poor, but do factor in my career handicap of +16. It is the most elegantly passive-aggressive system I have ever encountered. Graham, have you encountered any of the course's natural, or rather unnatural, obstacles?
Neil, I have infiltrated one of the bunkers. It is a pit of imported high-grade silica sand, deliberately placed to cause maximum inconvenience. The very architecture of this place is adversarial. There are also water hazards, ponds and lakes whose sole purpose appears to be to permanently confiscate poorly aimed balls. I am told the bottom of that pond over there contains a greater density of golf balls than the Earth's core has iron. I managed to have a brief, whispered word with the greenskeeper. He spoke of the grass with a terrifying intensity, Neil. He mentioned stimp ratings and sub-air systems. He treats the 18th green not like a lawn, but like a patient in intensive care.
A landscape of passive aggression maintained by obsessive clinicians. Wonderful. Thank you, Graham. You can stand down, or whatever the equivalent is in golf, lie down perhaps. Susan, this all takes place on an immense amount of land. What are the broader implications of dedicating so much green space to this activity?
The land usage is significant. An average 18-hole golf course can occupy between 100 and 200 acres. The maintenance of the greens, the finely manicured areas around the holes, requires substantial quantities of water, fertilizers, and pesticides. Ecologically, the impact is a subject of ongoing and robust debate.
So, we take a vast swathe of the countryside, shave it into a series of unnatural shapes, and then saturate it with chemicals to create a verdant yet sterile obstacle course for a small number of people. It's like a farm, but instead of producing food, it grows only neuroses and questionable knitwear. And all this effort, this walking, this frustration, this silent despair, it culminates, I believe, at the 19th hole.
The 19th hole is the colloquial term for the clubhouse bar and restaurant where players congregate after their round.
Ah, so there it is, the actual point. The preceding 4 hours of botanical torment are merely an elaborate, socially sanctioned justification to be in a pub by 3 o'clock on a Tuesday afternoon. It's not a sport at all. It's a 4-hour-long alibi. The sticks, the silly trousers, the quiet rage, it's all just a protracted opening act for a pint and a packet of crisps. I imagine the conversations in there consist of a detailed post-mortem of every single bad shot, a full forensic inquest into personal failure, lubricated by a steady supply of lager. It's less a celebration and more a group therapy session for people who have been systematically bullied by a field for half a day. So, to summarize, golf is a game where the winner is the person who plays the least dressed as a tablecloth from a 1970s picnic. A game that requires a trolley full of specialized equipment, most of which will only serve to highlight your own deficiencies with surgical precision. A game played in a state of enforced silence on a chemically preserved landscape specifically designed to punish you. all as a preamble to a drink and a detailed discussion of your own failings. It is perhaps the most inefficient and roundabout method of getting to a bar that mankind has ever devised. And for that, in its own maddeningly complex way, it is almost impressive. A rough assessment, you might say. But for many, it appears to be par for the course. Good night.